Now, a Gallup poll from May asked people's opinions on using animals in scientific research. 57% said they find it morally acceptable, 36% called it morally wrong, and 5% said it depended on the situation. We are bringing in our blogger bunch for their insights. Is using animals for scientific research beneficial, a necessary evil, or just evil? Let's introduce our blogger bunch right now. First up, I want to welcome Dr. Ray Greek, who opposes testing on animals. He's the author of the book, The Human Cost of Experiments on Animals. Dr. Greek, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Also want to say hello to researcher Michael Cohn. He is in favor of using animals in scientific research. He co-authored The Animal Research War. Want to say hello to you, Michael.
Thank you for having me, Namwa.
We also have with us animal activist Peter Young, who comes to us from the voiceofthevoiceless.org. Hello to you, Peter.
Hi, thank you.
And finally, let's welcome Tom Holder, who started the group Protests in Direct Response to Animal Extremism. A final welcome to you, Tom.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, I want to start by giving each side an opportunity to put forth your argument. Let's start with you, Michael, because you're a scientist at a university that does use animals in scientific research. Tell us in what way you feel this has benefited us in terms of quality of life.
I'm happy to do that, Namwa. First of all, the law says you have to test in animals before humans. There's no question about that. That's the law. And if you look at recent history, things like polio, tuberculosis, smallpox, they're almost gone from the planet. These are triumphs of animal research. People live longer and healthier lives than ever. If your aunt is being treated for breast cancer, if your kids and pets are healthy because they're immunized, if your dad had heart surgery, if you have a new hip, you owe a debt to animal research. Heparin that prevents strokes is made from pig intestines. The next time you take your kid to the pediatrician for a diagnosis, you're using animal products. Immunizations for H1N1 are made in eggs. Everything from pregnancy tests to rubella diagnosis comes from animal research and animal products.
All right, well, let's take a look at that example of H1N1, because that's a recent phenomenon that we're dealing with. We've got about 1,000 people who have died as a result of the virus thus far, about 17,000 people who have been hospitalized here in the U.S. So, Dr. Greek, would you like to see vaccines such as an influenza vaccine not be created if indeed they are reliant on animal testing to be successful?
Well, with all due respect to Michael, that's just not the case. I'm a physician and my wife is a veterinarian, and we have frequently been confronted with the fact that drugs and diseases act very differently in animals than they do in humans. And I'll go one step further. I've had to deal with the fact that different humans respond very differently to drugs and diseases. Even identical twins frequently react differently. Now, science understands why this is so because of things like the Human Genome Project and our studies of evolutionary biology and so forth. And in our book, Animal Models in Light of Evolution, we discuss this in considerable depth. Now, I can't go into that kind of depth today, but the take-home point is that animals simply cannot predict human response. And yet that is exactly how the people who earn their livelihood from using animals sell that animal use to society. And that's just fraud, plain and simple. Of course, animals and humans have things in common, and of course you can grow things using animal eggs and so on and so on. But that's not the issue. The issue is whether or not they predict human response, and they just don't.
All right, so let me ask you then, Tom, do you feel the same results, the same advances in medical science could be achieved without animal testing?
No, I think that without animal research, we'd see the progress of medicine slow down potentially to a stop. I mean, whatever Dr. Greek says, the fact is that every single medical advance, we're not just talking about most, we're talking about just about every single medical advance in human history has come about because of research using animals. Now, I accept that there are differences. There are also overwhelming similarities between humans and animals, and it is these similarities that allow animal research to be a crucial tool. The fact is, if we had other methods, I mean, I'm not quite sure what Dr. Greek is intending, that we just stop all types of testing. I'm not quite sure they're just going to develop new medicines. So the medical community is constantly keen to find alternatives because animal research is so expensive. And if we could find a much cheaper alternative, we would use it.
Can I just ask, Dr. Greek, is that what you want to see? You want to see an end to all animal testing?
No, that's a straw man, and it's insulting. Of course we don't want to see an end to all testing. We want to see an end to testing that doesn't work. If you think animal models are predictive for humans, then you should never eat chocolate again, because chocolate kills dogs. And yes, dogs and humans have a lot in common, but drugs that work in dogs don't work in humans and vice versa. And that's the problem.
Tom, since you are the founder of ProTest, tell us about how you do go about this.
Well, I marched side by side with Professor Jentsch at the UCLA protest rally in April of this year, in which around 800 students and scientists marched through the streets of LA in support of life-saving medical research. On the other hand, around 40 or 50 animal rights activists turned up to oppose this action. They were the original rally scheduled at that point. So the point is, actually, public opinion is very much on side with animal research for most people. The problem is it's not the kind of issue which most people like to speak up about. So most people have been a sort of silent majority, and what we need to do is give them back a voice and get them to speak up on this issue. The fact is that most people have had family whose lives have been saved or greatly improved through animal research. Cancer survival rates are through the roof thanks to drugs like tamoxifen, Herceptin, which have been tested and developed using animals. And so I think that what we need to do is get a greater understanding of what animal research is about. People need to know that the conditions in labs are spectacularly improved from the sort of pictures we see of 60s research or research in countries, third world countries. It simply isn't like that in the US or in the UK. We have 24-hour attention and care from lab technicians, from veterinarians. I mean, people forget that most of the treatments that they give their pets at home were all developed through animal research in laboratories. So I really believe that if you believe in both animal health and you believe in human health, then actually you should be on side with animal research.
Yeah, it's very interesting also, Tom, that you're joining us from the UK, where this is a very inflammatory topic. I can see you there, Peter, shaking your head as you listen to Tom. There has been an argument made that the animals that are kept for animal research do live, for example, longer lives than those who may be in the wild, but I sense that you don't agree with that. Tell us your thoughts.
No, not at all. All you have to do to learn that Mr. Holder is lying to you is to go to Google News right now and type in animal research. The first story that will come up, I just did this a minute ago, is an investigation that was just done. There's a press conference happening right now, just 3 blocks from where I am, about an investigation at the University of Utah. There are pictures on that news story at the Salt Lake City Tribune that show exactly what's going on inside laboratories right now. So Dr. Khan and Mr. Holder are lying to you. What's happening to animals, these pictures you see are not outdated. This is happening every single time anyone cracks that veil of secrecy and goes inside a lab. They come out with horrific images every single time.